If I've learned one thing in my 32 years of life, it's this: weddings are a gold mine. Not for love, obviously, don't be ridiculous, but for free food, open bars, and the occasional chance to accidentally leave with a centerpiece that would look great on my kitchen table. I know. It sounds bad. And maybe it is. But before you judge me, let me explain: I don't crash weddings for sport. It started out of necessity. Back in my 20s, I was broke, single, and living in a studio apartment that technically violated at least 3 health codes. My best friend, Marcus, dragged me to a wedding one weekend, swearing I wouldn't even need an invite if I just looked confident and wore a tie. I discovered 2 things that night. 1. Nobody questions a man in a suit who walks like he belongs. 2. Wedding buffets are the closest thing to heaven on earth. From then on, it became a hobby. A side hustle, if you will. Marcus and I built a system. We'd scan the announcements in the paper, pick a venue, and show up dressed like we'd known the happy couple since kindergarten. Sometimes, we'd even invent backstories. Oh, yeah, I went to summer camp with the groom. Crazy guy. Ate a whole jar of peanut butter in one sitting. Or my personal favorite, the bride? She was my lab partner in college. Absolute genius. Once cloned a frog. People never questioned it. Weddings are chaos. Everyone's too busy trying to keep grandma away from the champagne to notice 2 extra guys lurking by the shrimp tower. And so, for nearly a decade, I became something of a legend, not that anyone knew it was me. Marcus started calling me the phantom guest. I called myself efficient. Then came her wedding. The one that changed everything. It was a Saturday in late June, one of those obnoxiously perfect summer days where the sky is bright blue and the birds sound like they've been rehearsing for weeks. Marcus had texted me the details the night before. Big one tomorrow. Outdoor. Country club. Rumor has it, prime rib carving station. I wasn't even excited. After so many weddings, they all start to blur together: vows, tears, chicken or fish, bad dancing. But then I saw her. She was standing at the edge of the garden, talking to an older couple. White dress, lace details, hair in some kind of intricate updo that probably cost more than my rent. And she was smiling, not the fake, my cheeks hurt from all this attention, kind of smile, but a real one. Soft. Warm. Like she hadn't been trapped in wedding planning hell for the last 18 months. And, I swear I'm not making this up, the second I saw her, the string quartet started playing Can't Help Falling in Love. Corny, right? Yeah. I know. But I couldn't look away. That's her, Marcus whispered, appearing at my side with a plate full of mini crab cakes. That's who? The bride, genius. Focus. Bars open. But I didn't move. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about crashing weddings: you're always invisible. People see you, sure, but they don't see you. You're background noise. And that's the way I liked it. Except now? I wanted her to see me. I told myself I was being ridiculous. That I'd grab a drink, eat some free food, and leave before anyone noticed. But then the ceremony started. And I found myself drifting toward the back row, half hidden behind a column, watching her walk down the aisle. She looked happy. Radiant, even. And as much as I wanted to believe in love at first sight, I wasn't a monster. She was getting married. End of story. Or at least, it should have been. The reception was in full swing when it happened. I was at the bar, nursing my second whiskey and trying to figure out why the sight of her laughing with her new husband made my chest ache, when a voice beside me said, "You're not on the list, are you?" I turned. She was standing there. The bride. Close enough that I could smell her perfume, something soft, floral, expensive. My brain short-circuited. What? I managed. You're not a guest, she said, tilting her head slightly, like she was curious rather than angry. I know everyone here. And you're not one of them. I considered lying. I considered running. Instead, I said, "You're right. I'm not." But in my defense, the prime rib is excellent. For a second, she just stared at me. Then, God help me, she laughed. Not a polite little giggle. A real laugh, bright and surprised, like she hadn't done that in a while. "You're unbelievable," she said, shaking her head. "Who crashes a wedding? Seriously?" Me," I said. "Professional crasher. Been doing this for years. I even have a system. Name's Noah, by the way." "Noah," she repeated, like she was trying the name on for size. I know," I said before I could stop myself. "I mean, obviously. You're the bride. Kind of a giveaway with the dress." Her smile faltered just slightly, and for a moment, I thought I'd blown it. But then she sighed, glancing toward the dance floor where her new husband was holding court with a group of groomsmen. "Do you want to know a secret, Noah?" she said softly. I nodded, because what else do you do when a beautiful stranger in a wedding dress offers you a secret? I think I just made a huge mistake, she said. I wish I could tell you I handled that moment with grace and wisdom. That I said something profound and comforting. But what actually came out of my mouth was, like, emotionally? Or logistically? Because I've seen enough rom-coms to know that sometimes people just panic about the floral arrangements. She laughed again, but this time it was hollow. Tired. No, she said. Like, marrying him. I think I just married the wrong person. I didn't know what to say. Because what do you say? Sorry your life just imploded, but hey, nice hors d'oeuvres. So I did the only thing I could think of, I offered her my drink. Here, I said. Liquid courage. Or at least liquid numbness. She took it. Drank. Handed it back. Then she looked at me, really looked at me, and said, tell me about crashing weddings. Make me forget for a minute. And so, I did. I told her everything, about Marcus, about the fake backstories, about the time we accidentally crashed a mafia wedding and had to hide in a bathroom for an hour until the groom's uncle finished a very intense speech about loyalty. She laughed until tears streaked her mascara. For a while, it felt like we were the only two people in the world. And then her husband showed up, all smiles and charm, and whisked her away for the first dance. I should have left then. I should have taken that as my cue to slip out, grab a cupcake for the road, and disappear back into anonymity. But I didn't. Because for the first time in years, I wanted to be seen. And whether she knew it or not, she had seen me. I stayed until the end. Watched her dance. Watched her smile, that tired, polite smile for the endless line of well-wishers. And when the happy couple finally left in a shower of sparklers and cheers, I stood in the shadows and whispered, good luck, like some lovesick idiot. Marcus found me sitting on the curb outside, tie undone, staring at nothing. Dude, he said, dropping a to-go box of leftover cake into my lap. What happened to you in there? You look like someone ran over your dog. I didn't answer. Because how do you explain that you just met the right person at the worst possible time? That night, lying awake in my too small apartment, I told myself I'd forget her. That it was just a moment. That I didn't even know her name. But then, a week later, I saw her. Not in person. On Instagram. Marcus sent me a screenshot with a message that just said, bro, isn't this your bride? And there she was, standing in front of a coffee shop, no wedding dress, no forced smile. Just, her. Her name was Olivia. And in that instant, I knew two things. 1, I was completely screwed. 2, I was going to see her again, even if it meant crashing a few more weddings to do it. The thing about Instagram is, once you see someone there, you suddenly know way too much about their life. In Olivia's case, I learned 3 things within the first 5 minutes of snooping. 1, she really likes coffee. Like, poses with latte art, likes it. 2, she works at some boutique marketing firm downtown. 3, she is very much still married. That third one should have been my cue to move on. To delete the screenshot Marcus sent me, block her profile, and chalk the whole thing up to, that one time I fell for a stranger who just happened to be wearing a $10,000 wedding dress. But I didn't. Instead, I found myself opening the app almost every day, scrolling through her posts like some lovesick teenager. And then one night, after one too many whiskeys, I did something incredibly stupid. I crashed another wedding. Not hers. But I told myself it was practice. Marcus wasn't even surprised when I called him. You're spiraling, he said, shoving a tie into my hands as we stood in the parking lot of a hotel ballroom. I'm not spiraling, I said, adjusting the tie. I'm expanding my network. You're expanding your stalker tendencies, he muttered, but followed me inside anyway. The wedding was fine. Fancy centerpieces, bad DJ, a bar that ran out of tequila by 9. But I didn't feel that familiar thrill anymore. Because none of it mattered if she wasn't there. A week later, I saw her in person. It was a Thursday afternoon, and I was cutting through downtown after a meeting when I spotted her, standing outside that same coffee shop from her Instagram, phone in hand, hair pulled into a loose bun. For a second, I froze. I could have walked away. Pretended I hadn't seen her. But instead, I crossed the street, heart hammering like I'd just robbed a bank. Olivia? I said. She looked up, confused. Do I know you? I panicked. Yeah, Noah. From the wedding. Her eyes widened in recognition. Oh my God. The wedding crasher. Professional wedding crasher, I corrected, because apparently my brain thought this was the time for jokes. To my surprise, she laughed. What are you doing here? She asked. Coffee, I said, because technically that was true. She studied me for a moment, then said, well, you're here now. Want to join me? And just like that, I was sitting across from her at a tiny cafe table, trying not to look like a man having a full-blown existential crisis over a cappuccino. We talked. About nothing, mostly, work, coffee, how absurdly hot it was for spring. But every so often, there'd be this pause, and she'd look at me with this quiet, searching expression, like she was trying to figure out what I was doing there. I didn't tell her the truth. That I hadn't stopped thinking about her since the wedding. That I'd spent weeks trying to convince myself to stay away. Instead, I just said, I like talking to you. And for a moment, I thought maybe she felt the same. Over the next few weeks, we drifted into something. Not quite friends, not quite anything else. Texts about random things, bad reality TV, my disastrous attempts at cooking, her rants about clients who wanted edgy but couldn't handle actual edgy. Quick coffee meetups. The occasional lunch when our schedules lined up. It felt easy, comfortable, dangerous. Because every time I saw her, I wanted more. Then one night, Marcus cornered me in my apartment. You need to stop, he said, pointing a beer at me like it was a weapon. Stop what? I said, even though I knew exactly what he meant. This thing with Olivia, he said. She's married, man. Married. You can't just insert yourself into someone's life because you caught feelings at a wedding. I'm not, I started, but he cut me off. You are, he said. And you're going to get hurt. Or worse, you're going to hurt her. I hated that he was right. But I also hated the thought of walking away. The breaking point came a week later. We were sitting in the park, sharing a bag of chips, when her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, her smile fading. It's him, she said quietly. I didn't have to ask who him was. She answered anyway, voice clipped, polite, distant. When she hung up, she sighed and said, he's out of town. Again. Big client. Big deal. I wanted to tell her she deserved better. That she deserved someone who showed up. But instead, I just said, I'm sorry. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and for a moment, I thought she was going to say something. Instead, she just whispered, me too, and leaned her head on my shoulder. After that, something shifted. The texts got longer. The coffees turned into dinners. And one night, after too much wine and too many half-finished sentences, she kissed me. It was soft. Hesitant. Like she was testing a theory she wasn't sure she wanted to prove. And I kissed her back. Because by then, I was too far gone to stop. For a while, it felt perfect. Stolen moments. Quiet mornings. A version of her that nobody else got to see. But perfect never lasts. Because guilt is heavy. And secrets have a way of finding their way out. The first crack came when Marcus found out. You're an idiot, he said, pacing my kitchen. A complete, lovesick idiot. What's your plan here, huh? She leaves her husband and you two ride off into the sunset? This isn't a movie, Noah. I don't have a plan, I admitted. I can't stay away. He shook his head. Then you're going to crash and burn. And when you do, don't expect me to scrape you off the pavement. The second crack came when Olivia stopped replying to my texts. At first, I told myself she was busy. Then a day passed. 2. And when she finally called, her voice was quiet, careful. We need to stop, she said. My chest tightened. Why? Because this isn't fair, she said. To him. To me. To you. I don't know what I'm doing, Noah. I can't. I wanted to argue. To tell her I didn't care about fair. But all I could say was, okay. For a week, I tried to go back to my old life. Crashing weddings. Drinking. Pretending none of it had happened. But nothing felt the same. Because once you've been seen, really seen, it's impossible to go back to being invisible. Then came the text. Just 3 words. I need you. And just like that, I was hers again. The next few weeks were a blur. Her marriage crumbled. Quietly, messily, like a house falling apart in slow motion. And I was there. Not as the guy who crashed her wedding. Not even as the guy she kissed in the park. Just there. Someone who listened. Someone who stayed. But love built on secrets is fragile. And all it takes is one wrong move to bring it crashing down. For us, that wrong move came in the form of a charity gala. Big event. Black tie. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone. She wanted to go. Said it would be good to clear her head. So we went. And for a while, it was fine. Until her husband showed up. He wasn't supposed to be there. But suddenly, he was, tall, sharp suit, eyes narrowing the second he saw us together. The conversation that followed was, not quiet. Accusation. Denials. And then, the words that changed everything. How long has this been going on? Olivia froze. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Because what could I say? That it started with a lie, a crash, a stupid moment that spiraled into something we couldn't control? She didn't answer. And in that silence, I knew, the life we'd built in the shadows was about to come crashing into the light. There's a very specific sound that happens when your life implodes. It's not loud, not cinematic, no shattering glass, no dramatic thunder. Just a quiet, hollow click, like a door closing somewhere in the distance. That's what it felt like the night of the gala. I didn't even see her leave. One moment, Olivia was there, pale, shaking, staring at her husband like he'd just dragged the ground out from under her, and the next, she was gone. By the time I fought through the crowd to follow, the valet was handing her the keys to her car. She didn't look back. Marcus found me later, sitting on the curb outside the hotel, tie loosened, shirt untucked, looking every bit like the cliché of a guy who'd just ruined the only good thing in his life. "So," he said, handing me a bottle of water. "That went well." I glared at him, but he just shrugged. "Look, man," he said, sitting beside me. "You were playing with fire. And I hate to break it to you, but you just got burned." I didn't say anything. Because what could I say? That he'd been right all along? That I'd let myself believe in something that was never mine to keep? For the next few days, I did what any self-respecting adult would do in my situation. I hid. From her. From the world. From myself. I didn't crash weddings. I didn't answer Marcus's texts. I barely left my apartment. Because every time I tried, I heard her voice in my head, soft, broken, saying, "I can't." Asterisk. Then, a week later, my phone buzzed. One message. "Can we talk?" We met at the park. Our park. She was already there when I arrived, sitting on the same bench where we'd once shared chips and laughter and 1,000 unspoken things. She looked different. Tired. Fragile. Like someone had siphoned the light out of her. "Hey," I said quietly. "Hey," she echoed. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "He knows. About us. About everything." My stomach twisted. "What did he?" "He left," she said. "Packed a bag and left. Said he didn't want to see me. Said I'd embarrassed him. Ruined him." I opened my mouth to say I was sorry, but she held up a hand. "Don't," she said. "Don't apologize. This isn't your fault. I made my choices. I just..." She trailed off, eyes glistening. "I don't know who I am without the life I built with him," she whispered. I wanted to fix it. To take her pain and fold it into something manageable. But instead, I just said, "Then maybe it's time to build something new." For a moment, she looked at me, really looked at me, and I thought maybe, just maybe, we'd find a way through this together. But grief doesn't work like that. And love, no matter how reckless or wild, can't always drown out the noise of what came before. The next few weeks were strange. She leaned on me. I became her safe place, the person she called when the silence of her apartment got too loud, the one she texted at 2 a.m. when sleep wouldn't come. We'd sit on her couch, half watching bad reality TV, half pretending the world outside didn't exist. And for a while, that was enough. Until it wasn't. It started small. Missed calls. Short replies. Plans cancelled at the last minute. I told myself it was just stress. That she needed space. But then one night, after 3 ignored texts, I drove to her place. Her lights were off. Her car was gone. And when I called, she didn't pick up. 2 days later, she showed up at my door. Eyes red. Hair a mess. "I can't do this," she said, voice shaking. "Do what?" I asked, even though I already knew. "This," she said, gesturing between us. "Us. You. Me. Whatever this is. It's too much. I thought I could, but..." Her voice cracked. "I need to figure out who I am," she said. "Without him. Without you. Just me." I wanted to argue. To tell her we could figure it out together. But looking at her, at the way her hands trembled, at the way her eyes begged me to understand, I knew this wasn't a battle I could win. So I just nodded. "Okay," I said softly. And that was it. She left. And this time, she didn't come back. The thing about heartbreak is, it's not loud. It's quiet. It's the coffee mug you don't bother washing because it still smells like her perfume. It's the song you skip on the radio because the opening chords feel like a punch to the gut. It's the weddings you stop crashing because the sight of 2 people saying, "I do," makes you want to disappear. Marcus tried to pull me out of it. "You can't keep doing this," he said one night, dragging me out to a bar. "Doing what?" I muttered. "This," he said, gesturing at me like I was some tragic cautionary tale. "Wallowing. Brooding. Acting like you're the only guy in the world who's ever had his heart broken. Newsflash, Romeo, you're not special." I shot him a look, but he didn't back down. "Life goes on," he said. "And if you don't get your act together, you're gonna wake up one day and realize you wasted it all on someone who was never yours to begin with." For a long time, I thought he was wrong. That love like that, messy, complicated, all-consuming, was worth every second of pain. But then, slowly, things started to shift. Not dramatically. Not all at once. Just small things. Like saying yes when Marcus dragged me to a friend's birthday. Or actually finishing a painting I'd abandoned months ago. Or laughing, really laughing, at something stupid on TV. And one night, I found myself at a wedding. Not crashing. Invited. A college friend. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel that familiar ache. I just watched. Watched two people who'd found their way to each other, who'd chosen to stay. And I realized something. Love isn't about grand gestures or stolen moments. It's about choosing. Every day. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Months later, I saw Olivia again. I was leaving a coffee shop, that coffee shop, when she walked in. She looked good. Different, but good. Healthier. Lighter. For a moment, neither of us knew what to say. Then she smiled. "Hi," she said. "Hi," I said back. There was no anger. No regret. Just something softer. "How are you?" she asked. "I'm good," I said. And for the first time, it was true. She hesitated, then said, "I'm happy for you, Noah." "Yeah," I said quietly. "Me too." And just like that, she was gone again. But this time, it didn't feel like the end. It just felt like life. The next wedding I went to, I didn't crash. I brought a date. Someone new. Someone who laughed at my dumb jokes and didn't care that I danced like a malfunctioning robot. And when the DJ played a slow song, I didn't think about the past. I just held her close and let myself believe, maybe for the first time, that happy endings aren't about getting the girl. They're about finding your way back to yourself.